Hi, I'm Max Carwell with Abortion Access Front, and today we want to talk to you about some scams you may not know about, like anti abortion fake clinics. These are places set up just to deceive people, just to lie to pregnant people. These are not well intentioned places trying to talk to people about their options. We like to call these scam centers. So today we're going to be talking with Hey Jane to talk a little bit more about what are these fake clinics? Have you heard from them? What are the dangers of them? And how can you take action against them, most importantly? So it's really important to have these conversations because no matter where abortion access is available in your community or not, you still have anti-abortion centers that are important to warn people in your community about so they don't fall for these tricks. So at Abortion Access Front, we have a whole campaign called Expose Fake Clinics that's all about this very subject so that you all can have all the information you need to take action either in person in your community or online at any time of day or night whenever you have free time. So today we're going to be talking with Hey Jane about our week of action we're doing right now to get people fired up and get all of you the tools you need in order to learn more and take action. So looks like Hey Jane has joined. Hi Sally, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks. Sorry for a second. There was some kind of issues getting on.
Love it.
Always.
Yeah. Do you want to start by introducing yourself and Hey Jane?
Well, hey, I'm Sally. I am a nurse. I'm a nurse at Hey Jane. We're the leading telehealth medical abortion clinic. We send abortion pills discreetly to people just over the internet, do all of our care via telehealth medicine. And we have a huge issue dealing with fake clinics. So I'm super excited talking to everyone today, especially you guys at Abortion Access Front.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a little bit of background about Abortion Access Front, we are a national advocacy organization that works to keep people in the know about what's going on with attacks on reproductive health across the entire country. And we also work to give you everyone the tools to get involved in this movement to find their place. So you can learn more about us at aafront.org, and you can check out our Expose Fake Clinics program at exposefakeclinics.com. So to kind of like go off of that, what are we talking about? What is a fake clinic? Sally, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. You may know a fake clinic more readily as a pregnancy center, a crisis pregnancy center. These are places in your hometown, in your communities that advertise themselves as offering free ultrasounds, free pregnancy tests. They seem like a place that's really helpful. They seem like they offer free services, which they do. However, on the opposite side of that, they are often unlicensed medically. They provide inaccurate care. They miss diagnoses, including ectopic pregnancies, which are deadly, and are usually staffed by non medical people and provide a lot of false information in hopes to steer people away from getting abortions.
Yeah, that is a beautiful description. They are religiously motivated, not medically motivated. They are all across the country and they try to appear very inconspicuous. They try to appear like they are a regular medical office and they frequently try to pretend they are actually an abortion clinic to trick people into coming in. And a frequent question that we get about these is like, so do they actually offer medical services? And while there may be a few that do offer some services, in general, it's not going to be that different from what you could get at Walgreens. Even if they have pregnancy tests or STI tests, it's going to be the same thing that you can get anywhere. And also, since they're not actual licensed medical facilities, one thing I don't think people realize is they have no obligation to be like actually providing you services. I constantly think about how terrifying that is of, okay, so you're telling me you're testing me for pregnancy and for sexually transmitted infections, but who knows if you actually even are. For all you know, they could just be dumping your urine down the drain, telling you whatever they want you to know, whatever they want you to think. They have no obligation to tell you the truth or actually offer you health care.
Mhm.
Um, it's pretty
Yeah,
terrifying.
it is very terrifying. And I think one of the big issues for me is they waste your time. And a lot of the people who are using these services are going their moms already. they have an unplanned pregnancy, they are looking for treatment, they have to find childcare, they have to find a ride to the clinic. So all of this time and energy they have spent looking to get to a clinic that they think is going to help them solve their issue, which is that they are pregnant and they don't want to be. They go to these clinics where they're not offering real services. The pregnancy tests can also be purchased at the dollar store. They're using the same $1 pregnancy test you can get at the dollar store. And then often they're doing things that could potentially harm you, especially if they're one of these pregnancy clinics that offer free ultrasounds. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that, but they can potentially be harmful to your health.
Yeah, and I really feel like the general public thinks of these centers, if they know about them at all, as
Mm-hmm.
like well-meaning offices where they give you medical advice and talk about all options. And I think part of that misunderstanding is one, people don't understand that abortion clinics do that by actual medical professionals do talk about all options and provide people with that advice. And abortion clinics have actual medical professionals. What have you found about who typically works at these fake clinics for the ones that do have paid staff, since many are actually volunteer run?
Yeah, what we find is that these are just places where they're staffed by volunteers. You
Oh no, we lost Sally. While she is reconnecting, I'll pick up there. Yeah, these are very frequently volunteer run, just random people on the street, not actual medical professionals who are even getting like paid, where there's any sort of accountability or anything like that. A frequent question we get is like, oh, but that seems so expensive. How are there 3,000 of these all around the country? And it's like, well, when you don't have actual paid staff or have to worry about licensing or anything like that, it makes it pretty cheap to operate. Um, Sally, welcome back.
Hey, sorry about that. I think there's some people don't want the truth here heard. But exactly that. They are run by volunteers, usually people with no medical experience, which I really want to speak to because as a medical professional, I've had 5 years of education as a, becoming a nurse. I've worked in abortion and reproductive care for over a decade at this point. So when we're taking care of you, we are giving you quality medical care. We're licensed. It's a huge, just a huge difference in the kind of care you get, including when they are the places that are offering free ultrasounds. They are often, first off, they're using vaginal probes often, which can be invasive. They're inserting something into your vagina. There's been cases of them using uh, expired cleaning products that weren't even meant for internal use in patients' vaginas. There's been harm done by people not knowing how to properly use them, bruising, tearing. I mean, it is scary. Secondly, sometimes if they use an abdominal ultrasound, they're actually not getting pictures we can use or are usable in early trimester pregnancy. And there have been a few cases, many actually, of them missing serious pregnancy issues, impending miscarriage, ectopic pregnancies, which I mentioned before are life threatening. So if you think you're going here to get medical care, you're not. You're getting a picture. Will that picture be accurate? Not always. Sometimes those aren't even your images.
Yeah. Yeah, because they have no reason to tell you that that's actually what they're doing. They can just have ultrasound images that they have, give them out. There is a lot of very real physical danger there, especially because this is a big part of their plan. It's not like they're like accidentally not thinking through these things with ultrasounds. Like this is on purpose. They don't want people to understand that for a lot of in-person abortion clinics, the ultrasound needs to happen at that actual abortion clinic for many clinics protocols, but the fake clinics will be like, oh, this will help you in your process. If you're getting an abortion, we want to help you by offering the first step for free here.
Yep.
And it's not an accident. It's not a misunderstanding. They are purposely trying to delay care, talk people out of their abortion decision, and lie to them. So there's these physical dangers. And then one thing I really want to talk to you about as well is some of the um, emotional and privacy dangers that I don't think
Yeah.
people know about. Like, one of the things I was most alarmed to learn about is that since they aren't medical professionals, they don't have to follow HIPAA. No one's information has to be secure or private. They share it with other fake clinics across the country. And I was really terrified when I found that out because I went to one when I was around 18
Hmm.
or 19. I had just moved to a new city for college, and I was trying to figure out where I could get free birth control, because that had been an option where I'd grown up because there'd been a Planned Parenthood. But this place, they were saying they had free birth control, free STI testing. So I assumed they would also, you know, be able to help me since they claimed they offered all these things. And I went there, they had me fill out all this paperwork, and I started to get weird vibes because there were signs on the wall that said things like, if you've had sex with 12 people, you've actually had sex with 144. And one of the pieces of paperwork said something like, very complicated legalese, a whole page long, around if we think you're the type of person likely to consider abortion, we have a right to lie and say you aren't pregnant. So that set me a few red flags went off, and I started to
Hmm.
have doubts. But I was like, well, I do want to get the free testing and all this, and I need to figure out what they offer. So I went up to the desk and I was like, do I have to give you my social security number and all of this? And they were like, yes, absolutely. We will not see you or provide any care to you or any information unless you give us your social security number and fill out our full questionnaire and everything on your medical history. And this included other
Crazy.
questions like, what sexual position
Invasive.
you use? Like,
Oh,
yeah, invasive is a perfect word for it. It was alarming. And so later when I found out they don't have to follow HIPAA, it like haunted me for a few years of like, what are those random people in that shopping center doing with my social security number?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, not being bound by HIPAA, they don't have to follow, rules about getting actual medical clinics their information. So, say, at Hey Jane, we try our best to make sure our patients can just get care right out the door, not have to leave their home to get care. Occasionally, we do recognize symptoms that might be an indication of ectopic pregnancy. They might have symptoms show, or they might have some things in their chart that show they may be further along than would be medically safe for an abortion via telehealth, via medication abortion. So we need them to get an ultrasound. So if they are tricked into going to one of these locations, they that location doesn't have to give us any information. They generally do things like cutting off the patient's name, any dating, and they do not include any measurements. Um, so that when the patient comes back and said, "Hey, I got this sonogram," it doesn't have anything that we can use in order to diagnose what's going on so that we can safely prescribe medication. Or, it's lies. We've had them mark patients above gestational age when they clearly weren't so that we can't see them. And I think, it's unsafe and it's a waste of people's time, which is so precious and such a disregard for people's dignity, their, right to taking care and managing their own days, their own time, their money. It's it's really sad and people get very upset, understandably, because half of their day to a whole day has been ruined going to a clinic that did nothing for them except for take a picture that isn't even usable in a medical capacity, but lied to them to make them believe it was a medical capacity clinic. One thing we talked about, but just before jumping on, I talked with a couple of the other nurses from Hey Jane about their experiences where we had a patient. Often, what these crisis pregnancy centers, fake clinics, will do is set up shop directly next to an established abortion clinic. So, this person had been working at an abortion clinic, and the patient showed up several hours late for their appointment, very upset. And the reason they were late was because they accidentally walked in the wrong door. And they were essentially held hostage by the crisis pregnancy center, where they forced them to watch videos, had them sit down and do lectures, counseling sessions, until after like a few hours had gone by, the patient said, "So when is my abortion happening? When is my abortion happening?" And they let them know this was not an abortion clinic. So they had been completely tricked into going into the wrong center because they present themselves so deceptively as actual medical clinics caring for pregnant people.
It's terrifying, and that's a very frequent occurrence. A large part
Mm-hmm.
of Abortion Access Front's work is supporting abortion clinics however we can. And there was one clinic we were working with that kept running into that. So what we did is we painted like the sidewalk leading to the clinic
Mhm.
yellow so they could say to patients on the phone, follow the yellow brick road
I love
to get
that.
to us instead of the fake clinic.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of tactics. I love if you guys are looking to get involved on watching people in the comments. We love our like people who stand outside of clinics and help people like, calmly get to the actual clinic, who kind of interrupt the protesters, who interrupt the people working for the crisis pregnancy centers. We love that so much. As someone who used to work in an in-person abortion clinic, it's always like really reassuring to know you have people on your side who are helping our patients get care.
Yeah. And it's why, we kind of want to steal their tactics a little bit. Like, if they're going to mess with people, do all this work to make it impossible to exist in the community, like, we could do the same to them. We encourage
Absolutely.
people when there are these fake clinics located nowhere near a real abortion clinic, do the same thing. Protest in
Mm-hmm.
front of them, even if you just hold up a sign that very simply states, this is not an abortion clinic, or this place will lie to you. This is a scam. That lets anyone driving by, anyone in the community know that and not to go there. That simple act of just telling people this is
Mm-hmm.
not an abortion clinic in your community can make a huge difference, which is why we have this toolkit and all these actions for like simple things like that you can do to help people in your community not fall for these tricks.
I know that it can be really. I mean, a lot of us are feeling really helpless right now, feeling like there's a lot that we can't do. I encourage everyone, yes, to please follow Abortion Front, to please go to heyjane.com/slash action and sign up for our email mailing list. We send a bunch of call to actions that help you stay involved, give you tips and tricks and what you can do to stop these fake clinics. Um, and I think it's another reason it's important. I think that Max, you and I had both spoken about having personal connections to these situations. I was raised in crisis pregnancy center world. One of my family members still works at one. We cannot talk about what I do for work without anything. It's tough at family dinners. Um, and I went to one myself. And when I became pregnant at 18, I knew nothing about abortion, was just looking for options, and ended up at a crisis pregnancy center where, they lied about what Planned Parenthood does to me. They were set up right next to one. They made a lot of statements about how they were going to support me through pregnancy, but what they really did was let me get a pack of diapers and sent me on my way home. So it's, they're pretty they look real. They look real.
Yeah. A lot of people I know have fallen for their scams and are pissed off about it. Like, we don't
Mhm.
realize that is a whole part of people's lives, especially because they like to target young people and people of color. That is who is disproportionately affected by
Mhm.
these scam centers. That is who they are trying to target and trick and lie to. So I think
Mhm.
sometimes when we're not in college anymore, or if you're a white person, you may forget about the harms these places offer or think of that as like not that big of a deal. But we all have these stories of being lied to, and we all need to speak out about them instead of just accepting that this is a normal part of life.
I mean, they're very good. I do this every single day. I talk to patients and try to find sonogram centers for them to go to. And I have not, I'm pretty good at finding who they are. But there has been a time recently where I was on a page for like 5 minutes, like really trying to like, what is this? Is this real? Is this not? I mean, it wasn't a CPC. It's a fake clinic tricking people. I'm college educated. I work in this world every day. These are not, some of them are obvious. Okay, sure. Some of them are very deceptive, very unclear, very difficult to understand. And sometimes they will employ one licensed medical person just so that they can say the whole place is like licensed, but they're not, and they'll use those tactics in order to trick you into using their services.
Yeah, that's so interesting and so tricky to be able to say, like, we have one person, so look, we do have medical professionals. When
Yeah.
you're doing this research, what are some of the things you found to help your like spot if somewhere is actually a fake clinic?
That's a good one. Number one is if there is either no mention of abortion on, it's a women's health page. They'll use, also super gendered language. They'll
Mm-hmm.
be very, very, I mean, even some small town reproductive health organizations still use women's language, even if they are legit, like women, women, women. But when you're going, what most like abortion clinics and reproductive health centers are kind of like getting keen to the idea that we need to be gender inclusive because it's not just women seeking abortions. But they'll be very, very women centered in their language. They won't have the word abortion, or if they do, they will talk about complications very heavily. They'll say, if there is any mention of abortion reversal pills, any mention, can abortion be reversed? Are there abortion reversal pills? Get out. That is not a real clinic. Abortion reversal is not a real thing. It's not real. They give you a medication called progesterone, which is often found in birth controls. The idea is that the progesterone will help keep like any pregnancy tissue in your uterus from like essentially leaving the uterus. However, what we find is it does still cause it to leave the uterus, except it also causes you to hemorrhage. It is dangerous. We have patients tell us they took one a progesterone only pill in hopes of doing abortion reversal. This has only happened maybe a few times. And they're having hemorrhage level bleeding and have to go to the emergency department. So, again, not licensed medical, somehow giving medication to people. That's a big sign that they are not a real one, not a real clinic. Some other things to look for is any mention of God or biblical passages included in a healthcare quote unquote page. There's no reason that you need to have Bible verses read to you while you're looking for abortion. Those are some big signs that I see. I know that you guys at Abortion Access Front do a lot of the deep digging and exposing of fake clinics. Also, we use your website a lot. Hey, Jane, we love exposeFakeClinics.com. We use it all the time and let our patients know about it. What do you guys see when you're looking at websites or clinics on the side of the road that indicate they're not a real medical?
Yeah, I mean, talking about reversals, definitely a big one. I'm really glad you named that. I've also noticed that fake clinics on their websites or some of their materials, their little signs on the road will say like RU 486 or chemical abortion instead of medication abortion. So that's a big difference that I've noticed, as well as a lot of the fake clinics have a lot of resources on men and abortion, and not even talking about
Yes.
men who do need and have abortions, but instead being like, men, you have a right to tell
Yeah.
your girlfriend not to have an abortion, or like a men's recovery from abortion support group. Those are big red flags to me that that's not an actual abortion clinic. Because I'm also like, what abortion clinic do you know that has time for creating all these programs? Every abortion clinic I know is very busy trying to provide care despite laws, or not laws, anti-abortion politicians trying to stop them. Some other tips for something as an actual abortion clinic, typically their website will have information on aftercare following an abortion, things people need to know to take care of themselves, and detailed information on the cost, what a patient needs to do to prepare for their appointment, all those sorts of details. While an anti-abortion website, a fake clinic, will typically be focused on negative side effects or unlikely scenarios. They love to promote full on lies like about abortion causing breast cancer, depression,
Infertility, which is
yes, all,
not.
yeah, all untrue, all
Mm-hmm.
unproven, um, just wild lies. Like, that's baffling to me that the anti-abortion movement is so focused on making people feel depressed and
Mm-hmm.
shameful. Like, take a look at yourself and your movement if that's
Yeah.
your goal.
Absolutely. I think another thing to look for when you're looking for whether or not it's a legit medical clinic or if it's a fake clinic is things with like life in the name, choice for life. They'll use the word choice a lot, which I is obviously a tactic that they're using, hoping that you will Google pro-choice, blah blah blah, and you'll find there, a pro-choice looking for an abortion, and you'll find choice for life, free ultrasounds, and you're like, this is okay, this seems all right, like this, they're talking about choices, they're offering free ultrasounds, it must be legit. That's a big red flag. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I know that there are like words we see like a lot, especially in the name. I mean, just like women's options, women's choices, they really try to mimic small town independent clinic names.
Yeah.
So, of course, everyone knows Planned Parenthood as an abortion clinic locally. And then, in your cities and small towns, small cities, there's a lot of independent abortion clinics, and they will try to purposefully mimic the names. So, while there may be a independent abortion clinic called Choices, they'll set up shop that's called Women's Choices.
Or like in Tennessee, they literally are also called Choices. Back when abortion was legal in Tennessee, we had
Yeah.
the clinic called Choices and the anti-abortion centers, both just called Choices. So it's really confusing, and it's important to be able to like figure out those signs. It's also why we do have exposed fake clinics so that you can see a database of all of them that we found. It's also a community effort. So if you ever find one and you're very certain it's a fake clinic, you can add it to our site. You can be a part of keeping this, because exposed fake clinics, all of this, it's not this sort of like big huge thing where we're going to be able to have a huge paid staff doing all of the work. Like, this is a community effort where we need all of us joining together, making our voices heard and taking action however we can, be it protesting in front of them, be it telling people in your community, having these open conversations, or be it, if you've been to one, leave a review online on Google, Yelp, Facebook, wherever you can. Tell people about your experience, warn them so that it doesn't keep happening to people.
I think it's really important how just brought up how much of a community effort this is. These crisis pregnancy centers are in every state. There's more of them than there are imaging centers for most people. People are having trouble staying insured. People are having trouble financially right now. And these things are getting bigger. And it's really important that we work together to identify them. And also, I think y'all will really understand finding out who's funding them, which more and more is starting to be the state itself. We know that in Florida right now, there's a bill that's looking to be passed that will give $25 million to fake clinics. They're already giving money, and now they're going to increase it to 25 million. So understanding who's funding them, and I would love to hear your take on that as well. Like, who are funding these fake clinics?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely an important point that state legislatures are a huge part of that. So it's important to know who are your state level legislators, who's your governor, what's their phone number, so you can call and tell them what you think about this every single day. Tennessee right now is trying to beat Texas's record for most amount of money being allocated to these scam centers. Tennessee, a state where we do not have any abortion access, and yet the anti-abortion centers are only growing. There's only more and more of them. They're not going anywhere. They know they have an opportunity to lie to people. And so a large part of how they're funded in Tennessee and several other states are the Choose Life license plates. When people purchase that is taxpayer funding and individuals' money going directly to keeping these centers operated. Another big part is that I found a lot of people seem to think these are just independent little nonprofits doing what they can, just popping up.
Helping.
But a global network, huge organizations like Heartbeat International will actually pay for these centers to get started, give them that startup money, give them funding and resources, especially if they push some of these new nefarious tactics like the fake harmful reversal protocol you talked about, and some of their hotlines where they can better take people's information, store it so that they know this is the next wave of criminalizing people for their pregnancy outcomes, is first storing information on anybody who went to these centers, went to a website, called or texted a hotline to figure out like, oh, you had questions about pregnancy and now you're no longer pregnant. Like,
yep.
National and global effort to fund these centers as the first line of attack. So Heartbeat International, CareNet, these are big national organizations that put the money into these, as well as the taxpayer funding, state legislative bills, attempting to even try and get Title 10 and other federal funds once they're taken away from abortion providers, from full service reproductive health clinics. They have a lot of different methods. We have a whole page on the Exposed Fake Clinics website that goes into their funding, so you can start to figure out how they're funded in your state.
Thank you so much for, I mean, it's for explaining all of that. It's a huge operation. Like you were saying, they very much give mom and pop shop when you go in, but these are massively funded organizations connected to, Catholic Church, evangelical movements, federal organizations or people who are actively participated and elected into our federal government and our state government who are funding these organizations. So we have to use as much of our efforts as we can to stop fake clinics. Again, please, follow us at heyjane.com/action to stay involved as well, so that we can give more information on how we can fight these fake clinics, especially arm in arm with organizations like yours. It's really important.
Yeah. And as we're kind of like wrapping up, since we've been talking for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
I could probably talk for like 7 hours
Me
straight.
too. I know. Give me an abortion topic. I'll go on forever.
Yeah. Hey Jane, because we worked together on this toolkit that outlines several different ways you can take action. So that's what this background is here. You go to heyjane.com/action, enter your email, and you'll get this toolkit of a variety of ways you can take action. You can do them on your own. You can get friends together. We have something for everyone. So we want you to get involved, learn all that you can, make your pledges for how you're going to do this. And to stay up to date, yeah, follow Hey Jane on all social media platforms, follow Abortion Access Front on all platforms. And Exposed Fake Clinics also has a Facebook and an Instagram you can follow for updates. So stay in the know, stay active, and stay angry.
Yeah, stay angry, guys. Like, the fight is we are still in it. It's still just getting started. We have to stay as strong as possible. I really appreciate everyone joining us and listening on how to expose these fake clinics. Let's get them out of here.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.